All right, so the big story coming out of Alabama is that the basically the black turnout. I mean, there was other stories. Doug Jones did better in the suburbs. Broadly speaking, Doug Jones outperformed, I think, Clinton in 2016. All that is to be expected on some level, particularly when you're talking about a federal race where there was, nobody would have thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win Alabama. And so it was tough to get people motivated to vote. Part of this was there was a real sense in Alabama, hey, Doug Jones could win. And so I think you saw a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise have voted go out and vote. But the mobilization in the African-American community was huge. And apparently the DNC had 30 paid staffers there, sort of had done this under the radar. Also, the NAACP and other, there was a, I think it's Black Pac, I'm not sure exactly what it was called. Maybe it's that. Had put in money as well. So there was a real concerted effort. But here is, of all people, Charles Barkley sending a message to Democrats as to, basically, well, let Charles Barkley say it.
I'm just so proud of my state. They rose up today.
Last question for you, Charles. What's your message for President Trump tonight? As an Alabamian, as somebody who helped deliver the state to Doug Jones, what do you want President Trump to take away from this evening?
Well, this is a wake-up call for Democrats. Your Democrats, and I told Mr. Jones this, and I love Doug, they've taken the black vote and the poor vote for granted for a long time. It's time for them to get off their ass and start making life better for black folks and people who are poor. They've always had our votes, and they have abused our votes. And this is a wake-up call. We got it in a great position now, but this is a wake-up call for Democrats to do better for black people and poor white people.
All right, Charles Barkley.
There you go.
Why is Charles Barkley an insanely better political analyst than 99.99% of people I see on Twitter? He literally just synthesized a unbelievably stupid and unnecessary argument that this Bernie and Hillary thing has been going on since 2016.
And he did it
He summarized it in 30 seconds.
He did it off of a question about what's the message to Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And he immediately says, look, the message to Donald Trump is Donald Trump. It's conceivable Donald Trump could become less popular, but the bottom line is this race was won because you saw a mobilization. And you're not going to have every race where your choice is between somebody who thinks that America did black people a favor by basically kidnapping them and having them be slaves for a couple of centuries.
And by the way, the same way he gave favors to little girls
right.
that he tried to date. Yeah, you're not always going to have a candidate like that.
Now, with that said, of course, that was mitigated by the fact that he once hired a marshal, black guy's marshal.
Who's clearly ungrateful. And also, may I just add, I mean, whatever. Sheriff Clark is an idiot, and it's probably useless to even bring this up. But, apparently John Lewis, being one of the only people that came from outside of the state to campaign for Doug Jones, probably did play some role in that turnout. So maybe his iconic work in civil rights is, sort of vaguely relevant to black people.
There was clearly a big mobilization here, but Charles Barkley nails it and says, you've got to a mobilization obviously is going to work in these circumstances, but broadly speaking, you have to give people a strong motivation to come out. In Alabama, there was a couple of things working. You had voters who were probably white, liberal voters in the suburbs who said, you know what, my vote's going to count this time for the first time. And for African Americans, they obviously, Roy Moore was someone you really don't want to be senator. And you've also have in Doug Jones, a guy who has shown that he was willing to go out and protect the civil rights of African Americans and go after people who, in Alabama, obviously has quite a history that in many ways they have pushed back on tonight. So, there has to be an active reason for voters to go out that is stronger than just preventing that guy, whoever that guy is. And generally, when we're talking about Republicans, it's that guy from winning.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos